Do you understand that by killing so many civilians, they are essentially multiplying extremism? Say our country was occupied by Mexico, right? We have a bunch of people who are occupying our land, and then they decide,
well,
you know what, we're going to leave. Hold on, let me finish.
They weren't occupied.
I respect your perspective,
okay.
Yeah.
But if you had to live in the Middle East, so tomorrow, Anna, you got to go live in the Middle East, where would you live? You can pick one city, any city. Come on. You're going to get killed. You're going to get killed for that for good reason.
No, I don't.
Yes, you are, and for good reason.
Okay, Bill, I'm Armenian. I have literal family members who currently live in Iran. I have no love for the Iranian regime.
Everything is not always black and white, especially when it has to do with race, immigration, and religious violence. And that's the harsh reality Anna Kasparian had to face when she accepted to go on this explosive interview with Bill Maher of all people, in spite of her furious personality.
If they were literally going after Hamas, that is legitimate. That's totally legitimate. But that's not what's happening.
Hamas hides in tunnels underneath hospitals. You can't go in.
Hold on.
Hamas is the bad guy. If you don't get that, you don't get much.
What Hamas did on October 7th was disgusting. Killing. I mean, I don't at all hold back on that. In fact,
well, that's the easiest thing in the world to say.
I mean,
nobody disagrees.
I agree. Nobody
disagrees.
There are people who disagree, actually.
Raping babe. Yes, there are.
There are people who think I'm wrong because Hamas, they're freedom fighters. What kind of freedom are we talking about here?
That people see Hamas, the people who hate oppression so much, are on the side of the people. And it's not just Hamas. If you social justice warriors, if you have any other issue besides gender apartheid in the world that is above that, you're just a joke. That, if you hate oppression,
there's a particular moment in every conversation when talking points stop working. When slogans run out of oxygen and someone is finally made to move from abstract morality to concrete choices. That's the terrain Bill Maher walks Anna Kasparian into. And you can almost feel the discomfort before it's spoken out loud.
One issue which should be above all, because it affects more people, hundreds of millions of women who have basically no freedom in the Muslim world.
Right, so we should slaughter them instead, which is what's been happening.
Well, you should prosecute a war to the end. That does involve slaughter of every war, you know.
I think, listen, civilians get killed in wars. I think everyone knows that. Everyone acknowledges that.
Especially when you hide behind them.
But when 83%, according to the IDF's own data, and this is reported, by the way, I consume Israeli media on this. I don't consume American media on this. And Israeli media is super honest, way more honest than our media is. So when the IDF's own data indicates that 83% of the people that they've killed are civilians.
Because they hide behind them.
But Bill, do you understand that by killing so many civilians, they are essentially multiplying extremism?
I do understand that. Do you understand that there's very often in the world two very bad choices, and you only...
I mean, I'm an American. I have to vote in presidential elections. Yes, I do know that.
Okay, you don't have the good choice. You have the bad choice and the even worse choice. Israel has been being attacked by Hamas. First of all, the entire Arab world rejected them for 75 years. They kept trying to make a deal. They kept saying, no, we want it all. That's what from the river to the sea means. It means we want it all. We don't want a compromise. They've never wanted a compromise. Israel gave Gaza back.
But did
These are often the easiest sentences in any modern political meetings, perfectly calibrated to offend no one and clarify nothing. But Maher isn't interested in ritual condemnation. He's interested in what you believe when beliefs collide.
But Bill, let's say our country was occupied by Mexico, right? We have a bunch of people who are occupying our land, and then they decide, you know what, we're going to leave. Hold on, let me finish.
They weren't occupying
Let me finish. Let's say Mexico decides, you know what, we're going to leave, but we're going to control their electricity, what goes in, what comes out.
Because they were attacking them.
We're going to mow the lawn and just like randomly decide we're going to slaughter people because they allegedly threw rocks. They have literally nuclear...
Well, they didn't allegedly.
I mean, Israel has nuclear weapons, Bill. They have nuclear weapons.
And they don't... And that's,
they have the world's military superpower backing them.
Right. Well, they have nuclear weapons which they don't use. If Hamas
No, they don't use it. But to pretend
if
like
if Hamas had a nuclear weapon, how many seconds would it take before they used it on Israel?
I have no idea.
3. 3's the answer. 3 seconds.
How do you know that, Bill? Come on.
Because it's in their charter.
If they used a nuclear weapon against Israel, I'm pretty sure the very land that Hamas cares about would be done for.
Okay,
They'd be done for.
then they would be martyrs, and that would be a good thing, because that's their death cult view of the world. It's a good thing when you die. That's why they strap suicide vests sometimes on children. The fact that you can't see the moral difference between these two sides always amazes me among people.
I actually don't see the moral difference when you have like Bezalel Smotrich and Ben Gvir literally talking about exterminating the entire population of Gaza.
Okay, they're not talking about...
And these are not... They are. I mean, the statements are brazen. They're upfront. They're honest. This is what they actually want to do.
Well,
I mean, the West Bank is another example.
It's in Hamas.
The West Bank had nothing to do with what happened on October 7th, but they're annexing that land anyway. They're raining terror on innocent people, innocent Palestinians. They're driving them out of their homes. Like, listen, I am willing to admit, because it's the truth, that what Hamas did on October 7th was a fucking atrocity.
Oh, wow.
Killing innocent people.
Who couldn't admit that?
But you have a difficult time at least acknowledging the atrocities that have been committed against innocent civilians in Gaza.
Well, it depends on what you call an atrocity.
Kasparian's position is emotionally compelling and morally urgent. She frames the conflict through the lens of power imbalance, civilian suffering, and state violence. In her opinion, if civilians are dying in large numbers, the moral ledger is already settled. War itself becomes a crime, and anyone prosecuting it loses the right to claim righteousness. That argument plays well online, but it collapses the moment someone asks the wrong question. The type Bill is about to ask.
You have a difficult time at least acknowledging the atrocities that have been committed against innocent civilians in Gaza.
Well, it depends on what you call an atrocity. All wars are going to have atrocities.
A double tap on a hospital? A double tap on a hospital? So when the first responders show up?
I don't know exactly what you're talking about. I vaguely remember the thing.
Right.
Yeah. First of all, that's an old terrorist trick. That's what they do all the time.
Okay, but are you at least going to acknowledge that the IDF doing that was wrong?
Yeah, I'm sure they have committed what we would call war crimes, as every army does in every war.
Right, including our own, right?
In every war, including the Civil War. I forget who it was who made the good point, like, during the Civil War, a lot of people would say, especially in the South, that Sherman did not have to burn Atlanta quite as badly as he did. I mean, we were pretty brutal. But would you also then just say, well, we don't know who the good guys were in that war? No, I think it was the North. I think that they committed the atrocity in Atlanta. Yet that's true. They burned when they shouldn't, and they were very rough on the South. They were still the good guys. They were fighting against slavery as Israel is fighting to survive. And also, you know, they are the front line in the Western world. I
totally disagree with you on this entirely. Well, I think much of the problems we have in the Middle East is due to the enabling of this look, it's an expansionist policy. If Israel wasn't trying to continue expanding in the Middle East, so I don't think they would be dealing with the enmity, like the enemies that they're dealing with.
They've never been asked, they've never been trying to expand.
They're trying to annex the West Bank right now, and Lebanon, southern Lebanon, and Syria.
At this point, Maher introduces a premise most people try to avoid. Sometimes the world doesn't offer a clean option. Sometimes the choice isn't between good and evil, but between bad and worse. And sometimes refusing to choose is itself a choice with consequences. But Kasparian resists this framing fiercely. To her, accepting bad versus worse feels like surrender. It feels like moral compromise dressed up as realism. She pushes back by returning to numbers, to images, to scale. Logically, she's not wrong. But logic isn't the problem here. Completeness is. Maher keeps pulling the conversation out of theory and into lived reality.
These are all places that they were attacked from. When they became a country in 1947, they said, okay, we will accept half a loaf. They had as much right to that land as anybody. There was a continual presence there since 1000 BC when King David had a kingdom.
I don't care about that at all.
Okay, but it's relevant.
You can't wipe out innocent people because you used to live there like centuries ago.
You're calling them colonizers. They're not colonizers.
They're expanding. And they're annexing land. That's what colonizers
Okay.
do.
At this point, Bill Maher asks the most deceptively simple question she's ever heard.
Yeah.
Let me ask you one question, and then maybe we can
Yeah,
get
yeah.
off it. Because
Yeah, yeah, let's have
otherwise,
fun,
I
let's
just
have
want to
fun.
go.
Yeah.
I want to go have dinner.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not interested in this.
Yeah.
It's not really what I started a podcast for. You seem to,
I
seem to
know.
be itching to get to it, and now that you have, I'm not going to like back down on it because
I don't want
and
you
I'm
to.
not Jewish, by the way.
Oh, I didn't accuse you of being Jewish, and then it
accuse
wouldn't
me.
matter if you were.
No, but I'm saying I do this because I think it's the right thing, and because I feel like
Yeah.
I know the history and the politics of it.
I respect your perspective.
Okay,
Yeah.
but if you had to live in the Middle East, so tomorrow, Anna, you got to go live in the Middle East. Where would you live? You can pick one city, any city.
Maher is not asking her this as a commentator nor as a critic, but as a woman influenced by Western freedoms, expectations, and assumptions. But for some reason, this is where the temperature changes. Because Maher's question wasn't really about her preference. He's poking at something at the distance. The question strips away any abstractions and forces a comparison her ideology doesn't like. The ideology of outcomes.
As far away as, say, Pakistan. You could live in Karachi. You could live in Cairo. You could live in Amman, Jordan. You seem to love Lebanon. I mean, Beirut's nice when the bombing's not happening and the assassinations have stopped. Or you could live in Syria. I hear that's wonderful in the summer.
Well, we now have
Al
Qaeda terrorist leading
or,
Syria.
Or the Houthis, I'm sure, would make room for you.
Yeah.
Tel Aviv, or the West Bank, Ramallah, I think is wonderful for a little, in the fall, it gets lovely. Where would you live? What city would you live in?
Well,
where do you think you'd
sure
be comfortable in that?
Kasparian tries to dodge it at first, and who wouldn't? The question seems unfair, even manipulative. It compresses centuries of geopolitics into a single hypothetical. But that's precisely why it works. You can argue policy forever. You can debate causation endlessly. But comfort, safety, and freedom are felt instantly.
Would not be comfortable in this dress in any of the various Middle Eastern countries that have been destabilized by
You're not
the United States.
You're not really blaming it on Whitey.
Listen,
Are you? You're blaming Islam on Whitey?
I'm not blaming Islam on Whitey.
But what you're saying is we destabilized. That's why you can't wear that
Did we
dress?
not? Did we not destabilize?
Wait a second.
We were
Are you
funding terrorist organizations in Syria during the Syrian civil war, starting under the Obama administration.
That's why
did that not destabilize Syria?
No, what's destabilized?
There's a literal Al Qaeda terrorist.
We're talking about your dress.
Oh,
why?
It looks good. I know it looks good.
You're saying you can't wear that dress in Syria because of Whitey destabilizing?
I didn't say that.
Okay, that's
You're
what
putting
it's
words in my mouth.
Okay, great.
But
that's
the
what
United
it
States
sounded
did
like.
destabilize various Middle Eastern countries. Are you going to deny that?
And I asked about the dress, and you went right to destabilize. So is that why you couldn't wear that dress? Why couldn't you wear that dress? Why couldn't you walk down?
You want me to talk about jihadism and Islam, but like...
Why won't you?
Listen...
Why won't you?
I mean,
Why?
I don't believe in jihadism, which is why I'm furious.
Well, it's not just...
She finally conceded that as a Western woman, she would feel most at ease in Tel Aviv. But that concession doesn't invalidate her compassion for Palestinian civilians. It doesn't even negate her criticism of Israeli leadership. What it does is expose an asymmetry she doesn't want to name. Cultures are not morally interchangeable simply because suffering exists everywhere. In her defense, Anna Kasparian isn't pretending extremism is admirable. She's furious at it. But the way she frames it places responsibility everywhere except where cultural norms influence people's behavior long before bombs fall.
Just had a freaking Al Qaeda terrorist in the White House.
It's not just jihadism that is preventing you from wearing that dress. Are you saying every Muslim is a jihad? I don't think they are.
Bill.
Okay, why can't you wear that dress?
Let's focus for a second.
No, you won't answer this question.
I'm not going to defend that religion, like that extremist religion at all.
Why can't you just say...
That's not what this discussion is about. This discussion is about
it's very much what it's about.
Ordinary, innocent human beings that I don't want to be slaughtered, regardless of what they're...
She is speaking as if violence appears in a vacuum, summoned solely by oppression, rather than sustained by ideologies that sanctify death, martyrdom, and grievance. That's why Maher's persistence secretly irritates her. Because he's not letting her stay in the safe space of moral outrage. He's asking her to account for consequences, incentives, and realities that don't bend to good intentions. The most revealing part of their conversation isn't the shouting or the frustration, it's the avoidance. The repeated attempts to shift back to American foreign policy, Western guilt, historical sins. These are all relevant discussions. But they're also shields that allow you to criticize everything without ranking anything.
Then stop starting wars.
It's that simple.
Stop attacking Israel, it'll stop.
Okay.
But the fact that you can't answer that question, and you know that
I don't know what the question is. What's the question?
You keep doing that.
What's my question? What's your
because
question?
Because you don't really want to hear it.
No, go ahead. I will give you space to speak. Go ahead.
Then you will let me.
Yeah.
Okay. The question is, if you could live anywhere,
right,
from North Africa all the way to, we left out Uzbekistan, you could live there, Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia, Riyadh. Oh,
none of the above.
And,
none of them.
Or Tel Aviv.
None of them. Literally none of them.
But if you had to choose one, you would. So to you, Karachi, Pakistan, and Tel Aviv, same thing.
I would figure something out, but
that's powerful,
definitely
not as smart as I know you are. That's come on. You're going to get killed. You're going to get killed for that for good reason.
No, I don't.
Yes, you are, and for good.
Maher's unapologetic about it. He believes some systems, flawed as they are, produce better outcomes for human freedom than others. And he believes pretending otherwise is not compassion but denial. You can tell at this moment that Kasparian is exhausted. Not because she doesn't care, but because the conversation demands something she doesn't want to give: moral discrimination. The willingness to say that while no side is pure, some structures are noticeably less hostile to human life as lived, not imagined.
Bill, I'm Armenian. I have literal family members who currently live in Iran. I have no love for the Iranian regime. Let me be clear about that. I
left out Tehran. Would you like to live there?
Hold on. But let me just say something.
Tel Aviv, Tehran.
There is so much disinformation. Armenian Christians who are part of the Armenian diaspora as a result of the 1915 genocide against Armenians.
I know it.
They're living in Iran right now. They're going to church. They're being left alone by the Ayatollah, as awful as the Ayatollah is. So look, I'm not saying I would want to live in Iran. I don't want to live anywhere in the Middle East. I want to live here in the United States of America, the greatest freaking country in the world.
You're like a politician. You're avoiding the question.
No, I'm being as super honest as I can be.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
100% I'm being honest with you.
No. Because the question is, if you had to pick a city, and you're not answering that question, you're doing what politicians are doing and saying, I don't want to live in any of them. I want to live in America. That's not the question. The question is, if you had to pick, would you rather live in Tel Aviv? Because I promise you, you wouldn't last a week in the other places, and you could easily live in Tel Aviv. So if you don't think that speaks of a difference between cultures and civilizations, then okay, we'll leave it there. But I promise you it does. And if you had to actually do that, I think you would agree with me.
I think given my very harsh and vociferous criticisms of the Israeli government, I probably wouldn't feel so safe living in Tel Aviv right now under this government. Under this government.
First of all, they have free speech there, so it would not be an issue. But that is a side issue. We're not really talking about. We'll just say just a person, not you with your vociferous talking at, just a regular, a woman of your age.
I'm sure a woman of my age who grew up in the Western world would probably feel the most comfortable in Tel Aviv. I will concede that.
Wow.
Okay. But we're having a discussion about which culture we like, when in reality, I'm having a discussion about the value of human life. And wanting innocent people to live, whether they're Israelis or whether they're Muslims in some other Muslim country in the Middle East.
You know what? When I'm bored, I know the audience is bored.
Yeah,
so I'm going to cut it there because we've been
enough.
around that mulberry bush before.
Right.
So I don't want to go around it again.
Okay. You want to talk about husbands again?
Who else noticed how brutal Bill Maher has been all through this sit-down? Despite her rage, he completely leveled Anna's objections about not migrating to the East as a mixed American woman. What do you make of their encounter? Kindly let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching.